Blog Talk Radio.
Michemo Afurakani Afuraitkaitnit Neye AMANSEM Da Medine Ojirafo Kwesi Ranehmta Akan Amumai Amanuka Etibi Mu ODWIRAMAN Mu. Greetings to all Afurakani Afuraitkaitnit people, meaning African black people today. It's AMANSEM Day, Affairs of the Nation Day. My name is Ojirafo Kwesi Ranehmta Akan. Ojirafo of the Afurakani Nation in North America, within ODWIRAMAN, the Purified Nation, Afurakani Afuraitkaitnit people in the Western Hemisphere. Yet I say we thank you once again for tuning in to our broadcast. We've just opened up the chat room. If you have a question or a comment in the chat room, you can hit the number, or you need to log in as a user in order to interact in the chat room. If you don't have a username, you can sign up for one quickly in Blog Talk. If you would like to connect via the phone line, simply hit the number 1 so that we can see that your hand is raised, or we can connect with you. For those who are new to the broadcast, we have 4 broadcasts on a weekly basis. We have returned to our regular broadcasting schedule. This week is the first week of us coming back to our regular schedule. For this new year, our year began on September 22nd, which is the first full day of the Atemet, or autumn equinox, the fall equinox. That was the beginning of our year of 13,017. Of course, we do not compute time based on a fictional cartoon character who never existed. Jesus, nor Muhammad, Moses, Abraham, any of these fictional cartoon characters, Allah, Yahweh, all of these fictional characters, we do not calculate time or compute time based on fictional characters. We calculate time based on reality, the position of Asase Afur, the Earth Mother, in relationship to the Ochin, Soroma, the stars, and so forth, and the cyclical manifestation of their movements and positions that are constant and that can be regulated and calculated. We are in the midst of the Afuraitkaitnit, a great year cycle, a 26,000-year cycle. We're in the midst of that cycle, hence the beginning of the years with 13,000. So on September 22nd, which was the 7th day of our New Year celebration and the first day of our New Year of 13,017, that's when we began, once again, our New Year. So this week is our first week back. We took 3 months off of broadcasting during the summertime. We're back on our regular schedule. We have 4 broadcasts on a weekly basis. On Joda, which is Monday nights, we have Akan Nana Som, ancient authentic Akan ancestral religion. We deal with the Akan expression of ancestral religion, first and foremost because we are Akan, that is our expression. Secondly, because of the misinformation being propagated in the Western Hemisphere, as well as from individuals on the continent in Ghana, Ivory Coast, who have been infected with white culture, and thus their presentation of the Akan tradition, Akan philosophy, ancestral religion is inspected. So we deal with ancient, authentic Akan ancestral religion, brought in our blood circles to the Western Hemisphere, from ancient Khanat, the title of Nubia, the Akhanat or Khan Empire, to West Afuraitkaitnit, which was the reestablishment of the ancient Khanat or Nubian Ghana Empire, and later towards the Forest Belt when we reestablished the Akhanat civilization in the Forest Belt. And hundreds of years later, some of our people were forced from that region into the Western Hemisphere during the Musu or Ketie, the Great Perversity, the enslavement era, and ended up in North Central South America, the Caribbean, and Europe. This is how Akan people were transported and ended up in the Western Hemisphere. We maintained our ancestral religious tradition. Akan people in North America maintained the Akan ancestral religion, and it is known by its popular name as Hoodoo. And of course, we have published books, our book Hoodoo People, as well as Hoodoo Mind, the Hoodoo Nation Journal, dealing with that in detail. The etymological and cosmological foundation of Hoodoo being the Akan ancestral religion in North America. So this is what we deal with on Akanto Nanasom, Ancient Authentic Akan, Ancestral Religion on Monday nights. On Abinada Tuesday nights, we have Ojida, which means purification. We deal with Nanasom, Ancestral Religion in general, not just the Akan expression, but wherever Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit people exist in the world, including the Western Hemisphere. Our ancestral religious practices are foundationally in harmony with one another because our ancestral religious practice is, in essence, the ritual incorporation of divine law, the ritual restoration of divine balance. That means through ritual, we incorporate those things, objects, deeds, and entities we need to incorporate in order to harmonize our thoughts, intentions, and actions with divine order. And through ritual, we reject those things, objects, deeds, and entities we need to reject in order to restore balance to our thoughts, intentions, and actions, and thus realign ourselves with divine order. So the ritual incorporation of divine law and the ritual restoration of divine balance, these are the expansive and contractive poles of ancestral religion, no matter what form it takes. Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit, or African ancestral religion, whether it's Akan or Yoruba, Basa, Fula, Sang, Fon, Ebe, Kudu, Juju, Vodun, Gregory, Wanga, and so forth, wherever we exist in the world, the ritual incorporation of divine law, the ritual restoration of divine balance. And it's through that means that we seek to align every thought, every intention, and every action with divine order every moment of every day. That is our culture as Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit people, African black people, wherever we exist. We have a specific function to execute in creation as cells within the great divine body of the Supreme Being, the great Mother AMANNE, and the great Father Amen, Unyamewa, and Unyame in our Khan tradition. We are cells within that great divine body. And just like every cell in your body has a specific function to execute within your body, we as cells within the great divine body of the Supreme Being have a specific function to execute within the great divine body. When we make mistakes, we engage in ritual practice to realign ourselves, our thoughts, intentions, and actions with divine order so that we can move forward and continue to execute our function. So the function of ancestral religion is that ritual incorporation of divine law, ritual restoration of divine balance, so that we can align every thought, every intention, and every action, every moment of every day with divine order. That is our culture. So we say that Ojida, purification, operationalizes Nanasom. Purification operationalizes ancestral religion, our practice of ritually incorporating law and ritually restoring balance. So on Abinada Tuesday nights, we deal with Ojida, that's the show, purifying concepts, purifying ritual practices, purifying the understanding of our history and our culture so that we can become empowered to function in a harmonious way. Not a self-destructive way, but every moment of every day to function harmoniously. This is what we deal with, purifying understanding of these texts from ancient Kemet and Kanat, as well as the oral texts and written texts and other in ancestral religion wherever we exist in the world. On Awukuda, Akwada Wednesday night, we have Egua Marketplace. We typically showcase a business, organization, or institution. Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit, African Black business organization or institution that is serving the community in a positive capacity, who also maintain their ancestral religious values in the process, and their ancestral religious values inform their service to the community. We have published the Okom Economic Development Model, and through that model, we have a process: starve the beast and feed the pride. That means on a weekly basis, we make a determination about what funds we would have potentially wasted with the whites and their offspring, and then we starve the beast and feed the pride. We take those funds and reallocate them away from the white businesses and direct them towards the business, organization, or institution of the week. We are targeting with our Okom Economic Development Model one Afurakani Afuraitkaitnit business, organization, or institution per week for 52 weeks. And when you see our Okom page, you see the list of businesses, organizations, and institutions we have been supporting as a community. When you starve the beast and feed the pride and take $10 away from the white business you would have wasted it on and direct that $10 towards the business of the week, that's a reallocation of $10 to a black business away from white business. If you engage that process, and there are 1,000 people in the community engaging that same process, that home economic development model, starving the beast and feeding the pride, and targeting that specific business of the week, then that's a $10,000 infusion of capital into a black business in the course of 1 week. That allows them to immediately hire black people within the business the same week. It allows them to immediately expand their product lines and their services to us, so that we don't have to go outside the community for those products and services. Now we can access them from the black business. It's a win-win situation. If we do not do that, then by default we leave that $10,000+ in the hands of the whites and our offspring, our enemies, and by default we are financing our own oppression. So we starve the beast and feed the pride. This particular week, the business organization or institution, the institution of the week, is actually our Hoodoo Mind, Hoodoo Nation Festival, because of course next week, next Sunday, October 16th, is our second annual Hoodoo Mind, Hoodoo Nation Festival. It's an all-day festival conference that will be taking place here in Washington, D.C. It is from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. It is a free event. It is open to Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit people, African black people only. Registration is free. Registration is required, and it's Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit only. We will have presenters talking about different aspects of the Hoodoo tradition, the Akan tradition in North. We will be presenting on Akan, restoring Akan identity. We will have Afia Asase ritual, dealing with the Aksu mind, the nature of impregnating talismans and amulets in the Hoodoo tradition for healing, as well as waging war, offensive and defensive medicine, protection, overcoming court cases, these various different things. We'll also have Ama Asase Ajay. She will be talking about her approach to healing. She has a specific method by which she extracts the healing properties of plant life and mineral life. This is root work. This is traditional hoodoo, something that comes directly from her ancestral blood circle. She has a business, of course, Asase Heals, where she sells tinctures and different forms of healing medicines that have been healing our people for a number of years. And, of course, Afia Asase Ritual, she has the enchanted pharmacy where she fashions these sacred talismans, amulets to heal our people, protect our people, overcome obstacles and perceived obstacles and so forth. So we will be presenting. When you go to the Hoodoo Mind page, the Hoodoo Nation page, you'll see all the information. We updated the flyer. And you'll see we also have the Egwa Marketplace. We will have a number of vendors there. You'll be able to shop all day from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. with the vendors. We have a number of different presentations. We will also be giving away a free copy of our book, which will be released on that day, the Hoodoo Mind, Hoodoo Nation Journal 13,017, which will have articles on the Hoodoo tradition. We'll have articles dealing with various aspects of the culture. Also a directory of the vendors, as well as other Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit businesses, organizations, and institutions. So Hoodoo Mind, the Hoodoo Nation Festival is the institution of the week for the Okom Economic Development Model. And of course, tonight, Yauda, also called Yada and Abada, Thursday night, is AMANSEM, Affairs of the Nation. The term Oman means nation in the Akan language. Asem means affairs or issues. AMANSEM means of the nation. Of course, the term Aman in ancient Kemet and Kana. We've shown this in the Medusa, in our book, proving this. Oman also means nation-state policy, and we're dealing with the same concept. We have this concept of AMANNE, Nationism, the purification of nationalism. We had our first annual ODWIRAMAN AFAHYE conference on June 24th, just a few months ago. This is an annual conference dealing with nationism, the purification of nationalism. When we talk about AMANNE, and Oman, of course, means nation. When we talk about ODWIRAMAN as a collective term for Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit people in the Western Hemisphere. ODWIRA means pure, purification, purified. Oman means nation. It means that in the Akan language, Jida also means purification and to celebrate a ceremony of purification. Oman also means nation in the language of ancient Kemet. We show that in our book and show the Medusa, the hieroglyphs that spell that out. So Ojida, mind means the purified. Ojida, nation. Oman. But Oman also means west, land of the setting sun. So Ojida, mind means the purified nation. The purified Ojida, mind, nation. But mind also means in the land of the setting sun, the west. We are the purified nation. Ojida, mind, in the land of the setting sun, the extreme west of Afuraitkaitnit. So all Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit people, African black people in the Western Hemisphere are part of ODWIRAMAN, the purified nation. We had our ODWIRAMAN AFAHYE, ODWIRAMAN conference on June 24th, and that's our annual conference dealing with nationism, AMANNE, the purification of nationalism. The difference between secular nationalism and AMANNE is that we have a proper understanding of what nationism is and nation building is. A nation is an entity, a living, breathing entity, and we are a component part of that living, breathing entity. And there's a particular spirit that governs that living, breathing entity, similar to your organs in your body, your heart, your spleen, and your liver. This is an entity. It's a force, but it's composed of a number of different cells that work to support the functions of that larger entity. Those individual cells that work together in harmony, they know that they're part of a larger entity that's a living, breathing, functioning entity that they are a component part of. When we have that proper understanding that as a nation, as a specific group of people who are drawn together by the NHOMA, the spiritually cultivated ancestresses and ancestors, and the AMANSEM, the divinities, to coalesce in a specific region of Afurakani, the Earth Mother. We may have been forced into a certain region because of circumstance, but then when we coalesce, when we realign ourselves with our ancestral culture and religion, and then we come together, we're naturally drawn to one another. Our people who are on the same page culturally and spiritually. We're drawn to one another because we have the same ancestral blood circles that we had when we were on the continent, and we blended these ancestral blood circles in this specific region, western region of Afurakani, this region of the Earth Mother, because we have interfaced with this region of the Earth Mother and aligned ourselves with her in this region in the West, which our people on the continent have not done, but we've done that for hundreds of years here. But we've had everything that they have when we left the continent. We have their genetics. We have the culture once we left. But then in addition to that, we have interfaced with this region of Afurakani, the Earth Mother, aligning with her energy, specific configuration of energy in this region. We've eaten the food, taken in the medicine, mineral life, and plant life from this region, incorporated it into our bodies, but also the spirits that animate this region of the Earth Mother. We have been animated by, spiritually possessed by, guided by, healed by, and so forth. And that has fused us to this region, tied us to this region of the Earth Mother. And then when we have children, they are the firstborn that are tied to this land, spiritually and physically. So we coalesce in this region, naturally drawn when we listen to our Nsamanfo, our ancestresses and ancestors, listen to the AMANSEM, the deities that govern us, the forces of nature. We coalesce in this locative identity that we have, and we did a broadcast on locative identity, a self-knowledge, locative identity, based on the fact that we have separated, but then we coalesce in this region. We interface with Afurakani, the Earth Mother in this region, blended blood circles in this region, and now we have this locative identity where we come together as a unit, as a collective, as ODWIRAMAN, as Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit people, African black people in the Western Hemisphere, guided by divine order based on the region where we are. And then we come together as a nation, component parts of a larger organ. And that larger organ is governed by specific AMANSEM, divinities, forces in nature. So when we align with the forces in nature that govern the organ, cells of that organ, then we're living in harmony with order. That's real nationism. and when we live in harmony with order, because we're in alignment with the spirit that governs the organ of which we are a component part, then we have a natural inclination to function in harmony with one another, work together, build together, and so forth. We don't have to be taught to build together. We don't have to be taught to pool our resources. We don't have to be taught to engage in cooperative economics. When we align ourselves spiritually, because we understand that a mind, a nation, is a living, breathing entity governed by AMANSEM. When we align with those AMANSEM or Orisha or Vodou, these divinities that govern this organ that we're a part of, and we're cells of that organ, then we naturally align, coalesce, and begin to function in harmony with one another, and we only seek to engage the nationism process, the purification of nationalism. There's a spiritual cosmological foundation for nationhood, and that is nationism. So we're moving into and returning to nationism, which is the purification of nationalism. So we have the affairs of the nation on Yalta, Thursday night. We talk about specific issues that are affecting us in the present and how to address these issues in our community from a nationist perspective, from a nationism perspective. We're talking about self-governance. It's the precursor to the sound governance of an Oman, of a nation. So we say in the piece, morality as the foundation of nationism. When you're talking about nation building, nationism, we have to deal with morality. That's the foundation. You can't have a sound nation without it being rooted in morality. Foolish notion that we rejected white culture and white pseudo-religion because there were too many rules, and now we're going to get into African spirituality and you can do whatever you want. That's idiotic. It has no basis in reality. You can't talk about ma'at and then talk about you don't want to be constrained by rules. First of all, when people talk like that, they have no knowledge whatsoever of who ma'at is, because ma'at is a female force in creation. She's called Oman in Akan, but then the male divinity name is Ma'a, M-A-A. So Ma'a and Ma'at are male and female forces in creation, whom we invoke, who possess our people, just like other divinities engage spirit possession and communicate directly with us. They speak to us through adevisa, divination. We deal directly with these forces in nature. They are not abstract principles that we sit around and pontificate about. We have a direct relationship with them. So when you know who Ma'at is, then you also know who Ma'a is. And when you invoke their energy, it realigns you with order. It realigns you to the expressive and expansive pole of order, which is law. Ma'a and Ma'at govern law because they are the expansive and expressive pole of divine order. And of course, as we show in our book, hate is the contractive pole of divine order. Law and love is the same word. Law is the expansive pole of order. Hate is the contractive pole of order. Creation comes into being through the expansive pole, through law, and it's established and unfolds according to the law, or quote-unquote love. Law is a specific expression of order. So if you have someone placing something in order, place this in alphabetical order, place this in numeric or numerical order. If that is the charge, then you have to understand the laws that express order you are seeking to achieve. If someone says, place these numbers in numerical order, then you understand the laws that express the order, and you take the numbers that you have, and you know that 2 comes after 1, and 3 comes after 2, and 4 comes after 3, and so forth, and you can arrange them in numerical order because you understand the laws that express that order. When you want to express order, you align yourself with Ma'a and Ma'at. They are the expressions of order in creation. You invoke them. Their spirit aligns with you, and you align with them, and then you can align yourself with order through that expression. And when you align yourself with Ma'a and Ma'at, then your sphere of awareness and influence begins to expand, and that is the expansive pole of order. Creation comes into being and unfolds according to the laws that govern order, so the expansive pole of order. But creation is maintained through the contractive pole of order, which is divine hate. And the male and female forces of divine hate are Binna and Abinna, called Kerubeteti and Sekmet in Ejikamet, Binna and Abinna and Akan, Ogun and Iyami Abini in the Yoruba tradition. The contractive pole of order is hate. The immune and lymphatic system in the great divine body, so creation unfolds according to law. There are patterns in creation. They are predictable and understandable and are replicating because they operate according to a specific order, and they unfold according to a specific order. So the development of fetus and development of plant life, animal life, mineral life, Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit, human life unfolds according to a specific order. That unfolding is the expansion. That is according to law. But creation is maintained through the divinities of contraction, of hate. So when something comes along to disrupt the order, you have the immune system cells and lymphatic system cells that isolate the criminal, the bacteria, the toxin, kills them, expels them from the body. Because the hate vehicle within the great divine body preserves the divine body. Your immune and lymphatic systems preserve your body. Your other systems unfold according to law, and they function according to law, but if something comes along to upset that order, then we have a defense mechanism to destroy that which would otherwise destroy the organism. Your body develops and unfolds according to law, but it is sustained through divine hate. And this is why we wrote the book of AMANNE, divine law, love, and divine hate, the two poles of divine order. So if you don't understand the divinity of hate and the divinities of hate as one half of the created order of the universe, then you do not understand order. If people don't understand that Ma'al and Ma'at are male and female forces of divine law, then they don't understand the expression of order. If someone says they don't want to be constrained by specific rules and morality and so forth, then you have no concept of Ma'al and Ma'at, because Ma'al and Ma'at are law. That means rules. That's their nature. They place conditions on the created order. That's the nature of law. That's the nature of Ma'al and Ma'at. They represent and operate as the rules within creation. You can't talk about Ma'at, have no knowledge of Ma'al existing at all, and don't even know who he is, and then turn around and say you don't want to be constrained by rules. You don't want to be constrained by morality. That's insane. That's white culture. The whites and their offspring see rules as constraints upon the way they want to operate in the world, because they are spirits of disorder. They incarnate as spirits of disorder, all of them without exception. Every one of them who exists, every one of them who has ever existed, every one of them who ever will exist until we make them extinct, incarnated spirits of disorder. That means the white Europeans, white Americans, white Hindus, white Arabs, white Asians, white pseudo-Native Americans, white Latinos, white Hispanics, and so forth, all non-black people are spirits of disorder. Spirits of disorder, cancerous cells within the great body of creation. When they degenerate into cancerous cells, and they seek to operate out of harmony with order in discordance and direct contradistinction to the healthy, normal cells, then the order of the body feels like a constraint to them. But the order of the body for the healthy cells is beautiful, is wonderful, is something that's harmonious. We have a great desire to want to live in harmony with the order, and the only time we feel a constraint is if we try to go against divine order. That's when we feel discordant. That's when we feel disalignment. And then we seek to realign ourselves with order, because we only feel balanced when we align with the order that we were born as a part of and designed to execute in creation as a specific cell within the great divine body. So morality is rooted in Ma'al and Ma'at, the expansive and expressive pole of order. That is the foundation of nationism, purification of nationalism. The foundation of nationism, as we said, AMANNE, a nation, the Oman, a nation, is like an organ. It's a living, breathing entity that operates according to order. So if we want to establish and perpetuate a nation engage in sound governance, we must recognize first that we're part of a greater whole. We ourselves within that great organ, within the great divine body of the supreme being. There are specific adulthood forces in nature, divine forces in nature that govern the organ of which we are a component part. When we align with the spirit that governs our collective, as an Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit people in the Western Hemisphere, and the Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit people in general, when we align with the forces in nature that govern our clan and govern us as a collective, then we're living in harmony with order. When we step outside of the direction of those spiritual forces that govern order and unfold in a cyclical manner and harmonious manner every moment of every day, when we step outside of that, we become like cancerous cells, so to speak, temporarily, until we get back in alignment with order. If we persist in this order, then we truly do become cancerous, and there's no turning back after a certain point. And then we're slated for destruction, just like the cancer cells in your body are slated for destruction by the immune system and lymphatic system. So we must ground ourselves individually and as a collective in what in our common culture we call suban pa, good character, sacred character, because that's our nature. In order to work together to establish and effectively govern ODWIRAMAN, the Purified Nation, on a firm and lasting foundation. We've posted some information today. Sexual deviance, moral failings, etc. have no place in Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit, African Black adulthood, leadership, nor elderesshood. Self-governance is the precursor to the sound governance of an Oman, of a nation. So we're going to give a foundation, a cosmological foundation rooted in our culture for this notion of sound self-governance, which is the precursor to the sound governance of an Oman, a nation. If the cells within your organs are discordant, then there's going to be discordance in the functioning of your organs unless those cells are destroyed. Either they're repaired or destroyed. But if they're just allowed to engage in cancerous behavior and their development is not arrested, then they will simply proliferate and the cancer will spread and then the whole organ is taken out. But your body is not going for that. So we are part of the great divine body of the supreme being. We have a specific function executing creation. We have a quote-unquote life purpose, a focus, a divine function, so-called destiny, more properly defined as function. If we step outside of that function, then we create disorder in our lives and create disorder within the lives of those who are connected to us. And then a correction needs to be taken place. So we're going to go to our publication, ODWIRAMAN AFAHYE, and we'll put the link in the chat room for our publication. If you go to the ODWIRAMAN AFAHYE page on the website, then we'll also put the link, the actual direct link. The publications page, you go to the ODWIRAMAN AFAHYE page. Then you can also go to the NHOMA page on our website. This is one of our 23 books that we have published. We have the ebook version as well as the softcover version. ODWIRAMAN AFAHYE is the book that we published for the ODWIRAMAN conference, the conference dealing with Nationism, Purification of Nationalism. One of the excerpts from the book, we're going to go through a specific section of that excerpt so we can give this cosmological foundation for this notion of self-governance as the precursor to the sound governance of an Oman. So in our article, Per Ankh Nut, and the Per Ankh Nut, the House of Life, Per Ankh, the specific cosmogram, deals with the cyclical unfolding of behavior as well as the cyclical unfolding of every event in creation. So this model is applicable to every aspect of creation. And we utilize this when we engage in workshops and trainings and so forth. And we place this excerpt in the book. It's starting on page 33. And we're going to get into it. All right, so look on page 33 in ODWIRAMAN AFAHYE. And for those who don't have the book, the specific cosmogram, and you'll see this ubiquitous throughout Afuraitkaitnit and into the Western Hemisphere, wherever we exist. When you look at a sphere, a circle. And we would draw these spheres in the soil and draw these specific sacred symbols. They are representative and referencing the four positions of the sun: sunrise, the sun at its peak, sunset, and then the sun in the quote-unquote underworld and so forth. Those four positions of the sun, the cyclical manifestation or unfolding of creation, but it also affects the cyclical manifestation of our behavior. Our whole behavioral cycle: conception, seeding and germinating, sprouting, full flowering, and harvesting and conception cycle of plant life. But that same cycle you can find in the different phases of the movements of the Aten, the sun. So the unfolding of our behavior follows a specific pattern, follows a specific order. And we go through that specific order to prove that in this publication. Once again, showing that we are governed by order. When we step outside that cyclical manifestation, that cyclical pattern of the unfolding of our behavior, then we run into problems. But we can identify when we step out of line, and we can engage in ritual practice, pour libation, communicate with our our ancestresses and ancestors who are spiritually cultivated, so they can show us where we made a misstep and realign us with order. Connect with the the elders and elderesses who are spiritually cultivated in the community, so they can show us through their examples of how we step out of order, how to get back in harmony with order, whether it's something physical, needing specific medicine, or if it's something behavioral, spiritual, and so forth. Whatever we need, this specific cosmogram can show the unfolding of the behavior and where we are at in the cycle, behavioral cycle. It represents self-governance, but also the governance of a nation, also the governance of creation itself. All of the different forces in creation can be found in this cosmogram. The basic structure of it is a sphere, like a calabash, a circle, split in two halves. When you split the upper and lower hemisphere of the circle, so you have the upper hemisphere, kind of like the canopy of Earth. That's the upper round, the upper hemisphere of the circle. And then you have the lower hemisphere, which is the surface of Earth, which is the line going, the horizontal line splitting the circle in half. That horizontal line is the surface of Earth. Above that is the sphere, which is above Earth, of course, that's on the surface. But then below that line is what is under the surface. So that is akin, the upper hemisphere is akin to what is on the surface, the physical world. The lower hemisphere of that circle that's been split in half is akin to the spirit realm, that which is in the quote-unquote underworld, that which is unseen, but governing what takes place in the physical world. Just like gravity is unseen, but it's governing every aspect of our lives in the physical world. The spirit world, the duat, in the lower hemisphere, Tawi, the physical world in the upper hemisphere. That line that goes across the middle, that flat, straight, horizontal line, that is the line of Ma'at, the female aspect of divine law. So we deal with that on page. However, then you go down further, and this is the key we want to deal with tonight. You get down to page 38. The circle is not only split in half with the horizontal line going directly through the middle to separate the upper hemisphere, the physical world, from the lower hemisphere, the spirit realm, but it's also divided with a perpendicular line, separating the right hemisphere from the left hemisphere. So now you have a circle that's split into four, like a pie split into four quadrants. The lower hemisphere, the upper hemisphere, the right hemisphere, the left hemisphere. The upper hemisphere is the physical world, that which is on the surface. The lower hemisphere is the spirit realm, that which is underground, underworld, the spirit world, where the domain of the Unsamanpo, the ancestresses and ancestors, and the dead. And what happens in the spirit realm eventually manifests in the physical realm. It's like when a seed is planted, seed germinates, and the roots go down deep in the darkness. Something is going on in the underworld which the people on the surface cannot see. But then months later, you see sprouts coming up, breaking through the surface of the soil. So whatever was taking place in the underworld has manifested in the physical world on the surface. affects us in the physical world in the upper hemisphere. But then when you split the right and left hemisphere, when you separate the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere, the right hemisphere is the ritual purification dealing with healing, and the left hemisphere is dealing with cultural purification and governance. So now we go back to the upper hemisphere, that's what's on the surface. We're living on the surface and so forth, living in the physical world. The lower hemisphere is where the ancestresses and ancestors and the divinities in the spirit realm that are affecting us spiritually, psychologically, and so forth. If you look at the right hemisphere, in the upper right quadrant, that's part of the physical world. In the lower right quadrant, that's part of the quote-unquote underworld, whereas the divinities are the forces in nature. The lower right quadrant of that circle represents the deities, the forces in creation, the spirits that animate the sun, moon, stars, plant life, animal life, mineral life, the earth, black substance of space, the atmosphere, and so forth, the spiritual forces that animate these physical features of creation. They empower us, give us the power to operate and function and act and so forth. In the upper quadrant, in the right hemisphere, are those people on the surface who are the vessels of the deities that operate below the hemisphere. These are the priests, priestesses, healers, killeresses, and so forth. In our common culture, Akumfo, Abosumfo, Ndunsinifo, and so forth, Udumafo. So you have in the lower right quadrant, those in the spirit realm, the deities. In the upper right quadrant, the representatives of the deities on earth, the vessels for the deities on earth. Those become possessed by the deities on earth. Do divination for us and show us what the right path is. Our mothers, grandmothers, fathers, grandfathers who were diviners, those who could go into the forest, communicate with plant life, communicate with the spirits of plant life, extract medicine to heal our people. We've done that in the past. We do that today. We look at NHOMA, Afuraitkaitnit, George Washington Carver. He was able to transform agriculture throughout the world, especially in the United States, extracting hundreds and innovating hundreds of products from peanuts and sweet potatoes and so forth. He said the basis of his knowledge was going in every morning, early every morning, communicating with plant life, learning specifically from the spirits that animate plant life, their specific properties, and he would take that into the laboratory and replicate what he learned so he could use that to heal, to feed, to strengthen, to edify our people. Our sister Ama Afahye, who will be speaking at the Hoodoo Mind Conference, she has that same capacity and the manner in which she extracts healing properties from plant life and mineral life and creates her tinctures for healing with its immune system and healing tinctures for women with issues, with reproductive issues and various different conditions. She's able to communicate with the spirit of plant life, mineral life, extract those healing properties, follow those directions, and create those tinctures to heal our people. So we have people who have the capacity to attune to the forces in nature, the vessels of the forces in nature, so the forces in nature in the lower right quadrant of the circle, under the surface. Above the surface in the physical world, in the upper right quadrant, are the people who are representatives and vessels for the forces in nature. The healers, the healeresses, the deities, the ones who, children of the divinities who have that specific function to protect, to heal, and so forth. We have offensive medicine and defensive medicine. We utilize medicine to heal ourselves, protect ourselves, but we also use medicine to kill our enemies. Chemical and biological warfare. We established that precedent in North America when our people went into the woods, went into the forest, took the healing properties, but also the killing properties, the poisonous properties of plant life and mineral life, poisoned the whites and their offspring, poisoned the so-called slave master, his staff, his family, killed them, burned down the plantation to free our people. So we not only utilize metal armament that we fashioned in smitheries and so forth, and took from the whites and their offspring and their offspring, but we also utilize chemical and biological warfare to wage war against our enemies. We have offensive medicine and defensive medicine. So the priests and priestesses not only deal with healing the physical body, and healing the mental, psychological, spiritual, emotional instability, and so forth by invoking the forces of nature to help us realign with ourselves spiritually, but they also deal with waging war against the enemy. So the lower right quadrant, the deities, the forces of nature. The upper right quadrant, the representatives of the deities, the forces of nature in our family, those males and females who have that function to be healers, healeresses, and so forth. That's dealing with ritual purification, ritual healing. That's what that right hemisphere does with its two quadrants. The left hemisphere of the circle, the left half of the circle, is dealing with cultural purification. So of the lower quadrant of the circle, in the left hemisphere, is dealing with the nananom insamapo. They're under the surface, in the spirit realm, the spiritually cultivated ancestresses and ancestors of our direct blood circle. Those who passed on, but when they lived their lives, they lived a life of purity. They lived in harmony with divine order. They aligned every thought, intention, and action with divine order. So they became a standard upon which we build our own behavioral pattern. That specific class of ancestresses and ancestors of our blood circle who became those who we emulate. And those who achieve that level of cultivation, they, only in that class, are assigned to us by the Supreme Being to guide us throughout the course of our lives. Of course, we have ancestresses and ancestors who are clowns, who are idiots, who are criminals, and so forth. We do not evoke them. We do not align ourselves with them. We do not seek to emulate them. It is only that class of spiritually cultivated ancestresses and ancestors. The term nsamanfo in the Akan tradition, the ancestresses and ancestors. Yet we have the term nananom nsamanfo, meaning the spiritually cultivated ancestresses and ancestors. It is that class that have the responsibility and the capacity, because they're endowed with the power to assist us and direct us on the best means by which we have to operate in the world based on the clan that we come from. And since they were part of the same clan, and they learned how to live in this region of Asafea, or the Earth Mother, in a harmonious way based on their clan affiliation, they can show us as part of that clan best means by which we operate in this region of Asafea, or the Earth Mother, to function in harmony with order, execute our function, and not create disorder in our lives in the process. So that class of Nsamanfo, they're in the lower right quadrant of the circle. In the underworld, the spirit realm, the ancestors and ancestors. In the upper right quadrant, representing the physical world, in the white right quadrant, are the representatives of the ancestresses and ancestors on earth. Those are the Mpanyinto, the elders and elderesses. But we're talking specifically about a certain class of elders and elderesses. In our Akan culture, Mpanyinto means elders and elderesses. But then we also have Nananom Mpanyinto, spiritually cultivated elders and elderesses. It is that class of elders and elderesses learned from, that are assigned to us, part of our blood circle, that show us the best means by which to operate in a harmonious way as we're living on earth, because they have achieved that level of spiritual cultivation. They're the ones who engage that cultural purification, governing. So you have the ancestresses and ancestors who give that direction. Their representatives on earth are the spiritually cultivated elders and elderesses. Every elder is older, but every older person is not an elder. We have a concept of the Nkwasea Panye. Nkwasea in Akan means stupid or foolish. Panye means elder. Kwasea Panye means the stupid or foolish older person. That is a different category from the Nananom Panye, the spiritually cultivated elders and elderesses. So we align ourselves with those who are spiritually cultivated. From the bottom left quadrant of the circle under the surface, the ancestresses and ancestors who are spiritually cultivated. The upper left quadrant are their representatives on earth, the spiritually cultivated elders and elderesses. They represent that cultural purification. In the right hemisphere, we're talking about ritual purification, healing, protecting ourselves, healing our bodies, healing one another, healing the community and so forth, protecting the community. That's ritual purification. In the left hemisphere, we're talking about cultural purification. How do we operate? How do we interact with one another in a harmonious way? How do we engage the process of AMANNE, nationism, in a harmonious fashion, recognizing that we're all part of a collective, we're component parts of a major organ. When we live in harmony with that organ and the spirit that governs that organ, we can engage in activities that are harmonious, that are prosperous, nationism, nationhood, nation building, and so forth in a harmonious way. So cultural purification in that left hemisphere, ritual purification in the right hemisphere. When we deal with cultural purification, that is governance. How do we govern ourselves? Self-governance. And then, again, as we said, that's the precursor to the governance, sound governance of the Oman, of the nation. When people engage in self-destructive activity, when they engage in lust, misguided desire, and malice, you just took yourself out of the order that governs you. The cells in your body don't have a choice and just decide, you know what, I'm not going to be a heart cell today. I'm not going to be a liver cell today. I'm not going to execute liver functions. I'm not going to support heart functions. The pancreas cells, I'm not going to say, today I just decide I'm just going to be a body cell. I'm not going to constrain myself to just being a pancreas cell. I don't want to be put in the box. I just want to do my own thing. They're not designed to operate in that fashion. They have a specific design, specific function, and they have to execute that function. And when they execute that function, they have a harmonious existence. And the same is true for us. We have a specific function individually. Each Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit person, male and female, we come into the world, are sent into the world with a specific function given to us by AMANNE, the Supreme Being. When we align with that function on a consistent basis, we have a harmonious life. We're able to grow and develop, and we're also able to protect ourselves and defend ourselves because we have access to that kind of protection, that kind of power, that kind of wisdom, and how to use that power to defend ourselves and protect ourselves because we're in harmony with order. But if we step outside of that because we become engrossed with white culture, which is the culture of lust, misguided desire, perversity, and malice, then we don't want to execute our function. We just want to do whatever we're pulled to do by the perverse cancerous cells. Then we create disorder within our own bodies, disorder within our own community, disorder within the relationship we have with the Unsamanko, the ancestresses and ancestors of our direct blood circle. This is why the white snarl springs seek to force perverse concepts upon our people. Cartoon characters who never existed, like Jesus and Moses and Abraham and Isaac and Muhammad and Allah and Yahweh, and these fictional cartoon characters, whether they are white or they try to blacken these cartoon characters up to make us believe that they actually existed, which they did not. Because when we align with the foolish philosophy associated with these pseudo-religions, whether we try to blacken up stupidity and start calling ourselves Moors and Hebrews and Gnostic Christians and Sufis and occultists, all pure stupidity, no basis in reality whatsoever. So when we try to align with that kind of ill culture, then we create disorder in our bodies. We start becoming cancerous, and it affects us negatively. It affects those who are connected to us negatively, and ultimately it pulls us away from nationism. But when we realign with order, it's like a cell realigning with the organ within which it's a component part, and now you're dealing with an orderly existence. And when you are confronted with problems, then you can deal with those problems. When your cells are living in harmony with order, when the toxins come in, or when the cancerous cells develop, then they can do something about those cancer cells because they're living in harmony with order. They're part of a culture, an ancestral culture, a cellular culture, or an ancestral culture. And they have access to the immune system. They have access to the lymphatic system, and they can kill the cancer cells. So when you embrace your culture, you're embracing Ma'an Ma'at. You're embracing law, the expansive pole of order, the expression of order, that is morality. Every thought, every intention, every action being aligned with divine order every moment of every day. And when you engage that process, then you have access to the forces in nature that govern the divine immune and lymphatic systems. When the cancer cells show up, you can align with the functions, the divine executioner, the divine killer, to destroy this order so that you can maintain, so that you can expand, so that you can grow and develop and function harmoniously with other Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit people. So we must get away from this notion that there's no morality in our culture. We are the founders and founderesses of morality because we are the first and only to invoke Ma'ah and Ma'at. And once they dispense their ordered, balanced energy within our spirit bodies, then we express that order in our community when we build nations, when we build villages, when we build societies, when we build institutions. One of the posts that we did was reflective of that today. And that particular post, that a number of people jumped on. We were talking about, for example, and we'll just read it very quickly, and then we'll take some questions and comments in the chat room. If you have a question or comment in the chat room, you must log in as a user in order to interact in the chat room. If you have a question or a comment on the phone line, simply hit the number 1 so that we can see that your hand is raised, and then we can connect with you. We posted made a specific post on Facebook earlier today. And we'll read that very quickly and show, of course, how it's directly relevant to this notion of AMANNE, nationism, the purification of nationalism, and morality being the foundation for a sound governance with regard to nationalism. So we said in this particular post, and the image that you see that we use for the post, you see this blue image. What that is an ab, which is a term for heart. Ab in ancient Kemet, abo or etbal in our time, same term. It's a symbol of the heart. It's a blue, fancy, carved piece representative of the heart. You see specific abosom divinities. You see Ra. You also see Atem carved on the heart. The heart, of course, regulates the emotion. It is a repository for the energy, of course, the blood that goes through the right and left atrium, the right and left ventricle, and so forth, receiving the deoxygenated blood on the right side of the heart, and it's akin to this circular calabash we were talking about, the 4 different quadrants, receiving that deoxygenated blood, that old blood coming from the circulatory system. The blood is sent through the lungs, it's fired up, purified, oxygenated, and then the heart sends it out from the left side of the heart, so forth, through the left ventricle and so forth. So the heart is a repository not only of the blood, but also, and the energy that's moving through the blood, but also the energy emanation. It's a repository for our emotions, those external motions, the things that we have experienced and the manner in which we respond to things and so forth. The heart becomes a repository of our various experiences, energetic experiences registered as emotions or emotive energy. And therefore, the heart is placed on the scale to balance out the feather at the judgment stand. Because it's a repository of these various experiences, if you live in harmony with order, your heart is very light. If you didn't live in harmony with order, your heart becomes weighed down with the disorder and criminality. And then the scales are tipped, and it doesn't balance out the feather. And then the heart becomes consumed by the divinity Amut, with the head of the crocodile and the body of the hippopotamus and so forth. And what happens is when a person makes their transition, what is taking place in that scene is when they are shown to be living in harmony with disorder, they become repulsive to the ancestral community, the larger ancestral community. So instead of being accepted after death, in the larger ancestral community and received in the larger ancestral community so they can live amongst the other ancestresses and ancestors. They become repelled from that community, and these spirits, deceased spirits, become earthbound, hanging around the place where they were killed or where they died, the senior's home where they died, or the place where they may have been killed on the street or shot, or the house they died in. They're hanging around, still suffering, affecting people in a negative fashion who will move into that house or walk down that street and so forth. They're constantly in conflict and disorder and depression and anger and so forth. No different than a homeless person who may be mentally ill, emotionally unstable, who are constantly angry, depressed, and so forth, lashing out at everyone who walks by. That kind of individual makes their transition. They were living in out of harmony with order to the kind of spirit that's transient, hanging around, projecting disorder, projecting depression, projecting misguided anger and so forth, affecting people in the community negatively and so forth, and that can happen generation after generation. So that's what that judgment scene is talking about. When you live in harmony with order, your heart is balanced, it's light, it's not weighed down by disorder. If you live out of harmony with order, then it becomes weighted down. Physiologically, when you suffer some negative or allow some negative influences to affect you, then you become full of anxiety because you've been conditioned in that fashion to become full of anxiety, and then you literally have a quote-unquote heavy heart, or your heart sinks, it feels heavy and so forth. Now the scales have just been tipped physiologically. Until you reject that anxiety, realign with your own ka, your ka'et, your ritual, your ancestral ritual purification, realign yourself with order, repel that depression. And of course, we did a broadcast, Ancestral Religion versus Psychology, showing the differences between therapists or the rapist. And of course, therapist spells the rapist. And if someone's Eurocentric therapist, in reality, spiritually, they're just cultural, the rapists and so forth. And we show the difference between ancestral healers and healers and so-called psychologists and psychiatrists who really do not have the capacity to bring the kind of holistic healing to our people that we need. That is under the purview and under the domain of the priests and priestesses, the healers and healeresses, the hoodoo men, hoodoo women, juju men, juju women, voodoo men, voodoo women, and so forth. There's always been that, their function. So we use that symbol of the heart because we did a broadcast talking about Ab. The term for heart is Ab, and the name of the broadcast is abstinence or abstinence. And we're talking about self-regulation. We talked about ritual celibacy and cyclical fasting for self-regulation. The two major drives, Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit person is the hunger drive, which sustains you day by day, and of course the sex drive, which sustains the people intergenerationally because we reproduce. If you cannot regulate properly your hunger drive and your sex drive, then you allow that to control you because then you fall into lust and misguided desire, and sometimes even into malice and evil intent to destroy, pervert. But when you engage in ritual culture, you properly regulate those two major drives. You can engage in ritual celibacy, cyclical fasting, for self-regulation, for self-correction. When you engage that process, you're not controlled by lust and misguided desire. This is why we use that symbol of the eye of the heart for that particular broadcast. The particular post that we made, we said purity is not befitting of an Afurakani man, African man, black man. Promiscuity is a form of sexual deviance. The same is true of physical and verbal abuse. Both are forms of sexual deviance. When one assaults a woman physically or verbally, one is entered into a sexually deviant act. Certainly, physical abuse must also always be met with maximum retaliation, physical retaliation by the victim or an affiliate. No compassion for the criminal. You're not just forgiving somebody because they physically assault you. They're not physically assaulting you because you just figured out a way to push their buttons and you made them upset and they didn't know they knew exactly what they were doing. If the female on there who was the boss at their job pushed their buttons and said the same thing, they wouldn't physically assault her because they know they couldn't get away with it. But they feel like they can get away with it with you, so they do it. If a dog was barking loud at night and keeping people up, and there was a pit bull and the person went downstairs, they wouldn't go smack the pit bull across the mouth saying, you made me mad, because they know the pit bull will rip their hand off, rip their arm off. They know what they think they can get away with. So they're not engaged in physical assault because they can't control themselves. They can control themselves when they want to. When they think they can get away with it and they feel like they should get away with it, then they assault. So there's no compassion for the criminal. They need to be met with the maximum physical retaliation, even if it includes the death of the assaulter. It doesn't matter. Their life doesn't have value anyway. We know people who have made their transition who never engaged in any kind of criminal activity. All they ever did was support and work to uplift the community, and they made their transition. Their lives have value, but they made their transition. So why are we concerned about some Negro, some criminal who's assaulting the community? Their life doesn't have any value. So maximum physical retaliation is the order of the day. So we go further and say we have heard horror stories from numerous Afuraitkaitnit women, African women, black women, regarding some of the more popular so-called scholars, speakers, teachers, authors, younger and so-called quote-unquote elders, spiritualists, etc. A good corroborative measure of the character of an Afurakani man is the degree to which his character is upheld by those Afuraitkaitnit women with whom he has been involved with in the past. Even if the relationship did not work out, those Afurakani men of character will be held in high esteem by their former partners. Yet those who are not of good character will have numerous women, often from different states, who do not know each other, conveying similar negative stories regarding their relationships during the time they were together and after the separation. This includes promiscuity, physical abuse, verbal abuse, and more. Verbal abuse includes stalking, whether it's physical stalking or harassing women on social media, following them to their inboxes to continue the verbal assault that's still stalking. These pseudo-culture bearers must be exposed. Social media is a great tool to do so because of its viral nature. The self-appointed quote-unquote leaders, quote-unquote teachers, quote-unquote babas, so-called revolutionaries, so-called scholars, so-called elders deserve to be aired out and dethroned from these pedestals upon which they place themselves and allow the unaware and gullible to hold them up on. Let the viral exposure begin. We've seen that some sisters have already established groups on Facebook to begin to expose these pseudo-culture bearers who are running through the community, engaged in all this negative activity. We don't have time to coddle or protect anybody. Anybody who's going against the community is an enemy to the community, period. Foundation goes back to dealing with morality. Morality as the foundation of nationism, AMANNE. This is what we're dealing with. So when we talk about ODWIRAMAN, the Purified Nation, we have to focus first and foremost on self-governance. And spirituality is ritual purification and cultural purification. We're dealing with self-governance. That's the precursor to the sound governance of an Oman, a nation. This is what we're dealing with. So we're going to look in the chat room real quick. If you have any questions or comments in the chat room, you need to log in as a user in order to interact. You can't interact as a guest. You have to log in with the username. You can sign up for your username quickly in Blog Talk. If you have a question or a comment on the phone line, simply hit the number 1 so that we can see that your hand is raised and we can interact in that fashion. So for those who came in a little bit later, we also mentioned that coming up on October 16th, which is next Awusida next Sunday. We have our second annual Hoodoo Mind, Hoodoo Nation Festival. All day from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. in Washington, D.C. It is a free event. It's open to Afuraitkaitnit people only. Registration is free. Registration is required. You can register via our page on Facebook, the Hoodoo Mind, Hoodoo Nation Festival page on Facebook. The event notification, you can register in that fashion. We will have presenters dealing with different aspects of the Hoodoo tradition, which is the Akan tradition in North America. Our Akan ancestresses and ancestors maintained our Akan ancestral religion. We were forced into this hemisphere, and it is called Hoodoo, and we are restoring that Akan identity. In the same fashion, in March, when we have our annual Echisign conference, we also have the Juju tradition, which is the Yoruba tradition that was preserved in North America, the Vodou tradition, which is the fallen Ebe traditions, which were preserved in North America, the Gree tradition, which is the Bambara tradition preserved in North America and other Mindi-speaking people, the Wanga tradition, which is the Obambo and other Bantu-speaking traditions that was preserved in North America, the Ngangan tradition, which is the Fang tradition preserved in North America. So our various ancestral religious practices we deal with in our conference in March, the Echisign Ancestral Religious Reversion Conference. In October, we deal specifically with Hoodoo because, of course, we are Akan. We deal with the Hoodoo tradition, restoring that consciousness of the identity of our Akan ancestral religious heritage in North America, the Hoodoo tradition. So we will have presentations, different presenters throughout the day, video presentations. We will also have spoken presentations, video presentations, as well as our Egua marketplace all day from 11 to 7. You can shop with our different vendors, handmade products, natural food, a number of different vendors. So you will see that we're posting the information on the page. You'll see the updated flyer on the page with all of that information. For those, this is the last week we will be publishing our Hoodoo Mind, Hoodoo Nation journal and releasing it on that day. We extended that deadline for those who would like to place an ad for your business, your organization, your institution, or if you want to place a personal ad in the book. This is the last, actually tomorrow's the last day because we have to format the book and have it ready. So you need to send those JPEG files in as soon as possible. You can go to the Hoodoo Mind page to see the price breakdown. 1/4 page ad is $25, half page ad is $35, full page ad is $50. It's an 8.5 by 11 size book, full color. Your ad will be seen by hundreds of thousands of our people. This past year, we received over 2.7 million hits on our website. This book will not only be available as a softcover book for purchase on the website, but we will also have the ebook version on the website, and it will be a free download. So anybody will be able to download the book permanently. So your ad will be seen by thousands of people who download the free version of the book as well as those who purchase the softcover version. So if you would like to place an ad in the journal, in the book, you must do so immediately. Send us the JPEG files immediately because we must begin to format the book this weekend. So this week, tomorrow, as a matter of fact, Friday is the last day to submit your ad. Go to the Hoodoo Mind, Hoodoo Nation Festival page. We put the link in the website, in the chat room. You can go there, you can check it out, and you can make the payment right there via PayPal for that, and you can also see all of the detailed information for that. Okay, so 10:45, we're going to end it here. We want to say once again, Yerase, we thank you for tuning into the broadcast, and Yebeshiabio, we will meet again. That's it.